Hello, it's your girl, Lady Q. I just first want to say thank you for watching the video and being a part. Thank you to Sisters of Faith for your patience and your endurance with me as God is transitioning me to another place and space. Oftentimes I have found myself planning to do videos and then I don't do the videos because I struggle with being on camera. But because we live in a day and age that reality TV and people being on videos and COVID and all of that, I'm realizing that, I just got to step into what it is that God has for me to do, and I have to step into what He's called me to. And so, in thinking about that and actually meditating on that, it made me think about some things. Oftentimes we find ourselves in a place, in a position where we end up sitting still and we end up, you know, stagnant. That's just the truth. We end up stagnant in what we're doing in life. And, we begin to ask God all of these questions as far as, what am I supposed to do? What is my purpose in life? God, what do you have for me? What is really my call? And oftentimes we're already functioning in our call. We already know what our call is. And so with that being said, we may know these things, but yet we don't follow through, and so, and me thinking about my own place of being stagnant and sitting still and sitting on the things that God have already put before me, even years back, and as the doors began to open and I pull on those things, realizing that I allowed myself to become stagnant. Let me tell you something. Oftentimes you may have people around you that will say to you, you're not ready for that and you're not ready to move on to this and you need to think about this again, and maybe it's not the right time, and maybe you need to wait. And you find yourself sitting and waiting because people are telling you that you need to wait. You're not moving in the direction that you need to move in. God has already given you that thing that you were supposed to do, yet and still you sit and wait. Yet and still you don't move forward. Yet and still, you're still looking for confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. God has already placed it in you to be birthed, but yet you want to just sit there and hold on it and not allow it to be birthed. Understand, when God gives you something, God doesn't make any mistakes. So you don't have to keep asking, God, are you sure me? God, are you sure I'm supposed to do this? And then you're going to go over and ask your sister, your cousin, your mama, your neighbor, your friend, your co-worker, do you think I'm supposed to do this? Do you think I'm called to do this? Do you think right now is the right time? Understand, when God is giving it to you, He's giving to you what you are supposed to do. Understand that oftentimes when we are planning to go on a trip, there's a process that we have to go through when we plan to go on that trip. And one of those processes in going on that trip is getting in that vehicle, taking off, and then we arrive to the airport or to the bus station or even the train station, and there is a destination for every one of those things that you have to get on. Every mode of transportation has a destination. It has a time in which it will arrive. It has a time in which it will leave the platform. And understand, and there's a process that you'll go through when you get on whatever that mode of transportation is going to your destination. Understand, God has something for you, and He has a destination for you to get to. And just like the plane and the train and the bus, they don't wait on you and say, well, maybe it's not time for us to go. Maybe, I don't know if that's the destination we're supposed to go to. Maybe it's supposed to be another destination. I know you came to the airport to get on the plane, but just maybe you should have just went to the bus station and got on the bus, or maybe even take the train. What's going to happen is, while you are sitting there contemplating whether or not what you should do, the airplane is going to mount the runway and it's going to take off and it's going to head into its destination. The bus is going to leave the bus station and it's going to go into the direction it's supposed to go into and pick up who it's supposed to pick up, and who is not supposed to be on the bus will not get on the bus. May have a ticket, but not for that particular bus. Whoever is supposed to get on the train is going to get on the train, and if it's meant for them to get a window seat, that's the seat that they're going to have. So I'm saying all that to say that when God gives you something, when he's placed something in your spirit to do, you have to move forward. You can't keep sitting around waiting for somebody to say, well, you're supposed to do this and you should have done that, and I need you to wait because, I think you should wait. Not God has told you to wait. We listen to everybody else telling us that when it's time for us to move forward and what we need to wait on, and understand that when God gives you something to do, everybody can't go with you where you're going. Everybody don't have the ticket to the destination that you're going to, the journey that you are having to travel. Everybody don't have that ticket. Some people are just going to be able to stand back and watch as you move forward and you leave the platform going to where you need to go. Some people are going to have an opportunity to have a window seat, moving with you in the very direction that you're going, being able to see things that are going to happen. Some people on the inside sitting down don't even realize that they're part of the process, that they're going on a journey with you. So understand that you can't allow yourself to be stagnant in the thing that God is giving you to do. You can't allow yourself to be stagnant looking for validation and confirmation from man when God has given it to you. You have to move on and move forward. You got to leave the platform that you are on. It is time for you to taxi down the runway and ready yourself to take up and take speed so that you can take flight and move in the very direction that God has for you. And understand that when you taxi down the runway, there are going to be people standing in the background watching you as you taxi. They don't know which way you're going. They don't even know what you're doing, but God has placed inside of you the thing that you are supposed to do. So that very thing that God has given you, understand, you move on, you move forward. So as you taxi down the runway and you begin to take flight. Now, when you begin to take flight, understand, just like in an airplane, there's going to come rain. There will be clouds. There will be a turbulence. So even in what is God has called you to do, you're going to deal with some days where the rain is going to come. You can't quite see clear, but you got to keep journeying on, because if God is truly your compass that is showing you in the direction that you need to be going in, you don't even have to worry. You don't even have to worry about what you can't see, because God has already seen it before he even destined you for it. So understand, it was a predestination before you were even put on the foundation of this earth, that whatever God has called you to, you don't have to worry about what other people are going to say or do. So even though you may have those rainy nights and you can't quite see, and the clouds will come and it kind of seem like it's blinding your vision, all you got to do is stay focused on Jesus and watch him continue to carry you through. Not only that, it's going to come a point in your life where you're going to reach a turbulence. Do you understand that even though God has called you to something, you will go through trials and tribulations in that situation? And when you're going through the trials and tribulations, you continue to lean on God, and all you got to do is allow yourself to open up and coast on the wind, the Holy Spirit of God, and allow the Holy Spirit to carry you just like the wind carries an airplane. So understand that if you are so focused on God, regardless of the rain, regardless of the clouds, regardless of whatever storm may come your way, even the turbulence that comes your way, it's not going to stop you from reaching your destination. Just like the airplane, when it gets in the air and all of these things come, it still continues to move forward, because eventually the plane has to land. So regardless of the situations that's there is a focus, and that's to get to the destination, because the plane is carrying people on it to take them to a destination. So even in everything that God has called you to and what God has called you for, you have to understand that you have to move forward, because it's not just for you. There are those that you are carrying with you. There are those that it became a part of what you're doing to take them to the destination that you were supposed to go to? Are you going to allow the issues of this world to keep you from moving forward? Are you going to allow your personal situation to keep you from moving forward? Are you going to allow what people have to say to you to keep you from moving forward? Are you going to allow that people don't like you, they have rejected you, neglected you, and turned their back on you to keep you from moving forward? Because you have to understand, when you are a child of God and he has placed something in your belly that have to be birthed, that it requires for you to carry people with you to a destination that you need to reach so that you can gather people unto God for the building of his kingdom, not unto yourself. You can't allow the situations, the people, and the things to get in the way of what God has called you to do. Your focus is doing what God has placed in you for the growing of the kingdom. So when you understand that what you're doing is not for yourself, that what you're doing is not to make you feel good, for what you're doing is not meant to satisfy your emotions, and what you're doing is to build up the kingdom of God. And that means you got to be willing to go through some things. You got to be willing to deal with the turbulence. You got to be willing to deal with the storms. You got to be willing to deal with the rain. You got to be willing to deal with the trials and tribulations of this life, and understand that in all that you do, that when you feel that you are weak, Philippians 4:13 tells us that when we are in this place of weakness, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. You can't do it in and of yourself. God gives you the strength. So when you have gone to a place and you've done everything that you can do, and you put in everything that you can put into it, that what God does, he steps in, and now he begins to strengthen you, to give you the strength to endure the process. So I'm here to encourage you today. If you have allowed things to get in your way, if you have allowed people to get in your way, if you've even allowed yourself to get in your way of what God has placed in you to do, right now is the time for you to let go of all those things and saying, God, give me sight, give me vision, give me direction. Lord, lead me in where I should be going. And if you already know in what you're supposed to do, if you know in what direction you're supposed to be going in, he's already given it to you. All you got to do is stand and move. Don't worry about who's coming. Don't worry about who's not coming. Don't worry about who's looking. Don't worry about how it's going to be financed. Don't worry about I don't have the finances for it. Don't worry about I don't have the people for it, because understand, God will send an increase. When you are obedient to what he calls you to do, God will give the increase to that situation. So I'm here to encourage you today that if you've been stagnant for a while, it's time for you to stand up. It's time for you to get it together, and it's time for you to trust God through the process. There's no time in God's kingdom for each and any one of us to be stagnant in anything that he has called us to do, because there's too many people out here hurting. There's too many people that out here need God. There's too many people out here that need your testimony to help bring them through, because understanding everything that you have gone through, everything that you've endured, the testimony that you have is not just for yourself to sit on, but to help somebody else that's going through their situation. Let me help you today, because you think that what you have gone through and what you have endured, you're just going to keep it to yourself, and I'm just going to keep it right here, and I'm not going to tell nobody. God did not bring you out of a situation for you to hide it. God did not bring you out of a situation not to show somebody else how to get to the victory line. It's just like running a match, and when somebody is running down the line and you see that person that may fall, and then all of a sudden somebody come and pick them up, and they run the race together, and it doesn't even matter that they didn't cross the line first. What mattered is they helped someone else get across the line. That is your duty, and my duty is that when God has given us a testimony of victory, it is then time for us to be able to share that testimony, that when our brother or our sister fall, we stop to help pick them up, to carry them across the line. We are helping them get to where they need to get to. When you see someone struggling struggling or hurting. It is in that moment that they need your testimony to come out of their situation. Let me ask you, and you think about it for yourself. What is it that brought you through your situation? What took you to that place of realizing I don't want to be here no more? It is time for me to reach victory. Who reached out and grabbed you and said, let me show you a better way? Who reached down and picked you up and said, all I need you to do is walk with me? Who reached down and loved you like you've never been loved before and gave you a nurturing that you've never had before, that showed you a love that only came from no one but Christ? And understand the same type of love that was given to you is the same type of love you ought to give to your brother or your sister to help them. So understand, you can't sit still in this thing. It is time to move forward and move on. And yes, some people are going to fall off, and people are going to turn their back on you, and people are going to talk about you, and people are going to beat you down, because that is what the enemy wants, to destroy the very thing that God has placed inside of you. Because if he can destroy it, that means a soul will not be won to Christ, and that means a soul will be won to the devil, so he would think so. So what you have to do is let go of whatever is holding you down, that is keeping you stagnant. Focus on Christ, moving forward. Move forward. Move forward. So in this season of life, it is time for us to get to moving forward, not allowing the situation, the people, the surroundings to keep us stagnant. So it's my hope and my prayer that you have been encouraged today. And if this has encouraged you, if you know somebody that needs this, I urge you to not just click like, but to also share this with somebody that is in need today, that needs this today. So until next time, be blessed, have a wonderful day, and have an amazing week.